I was raised in the church, I was raised in a Christian home, but I still dated guys that weren't Christians, and I pretty much thought if they were cute and if they were fun and if they liked me, like why not date them? Like I'm not going to marry the guy, so it doesn't matter. My relationships in high school were pretty shallow. I didn't go very deep with them, and I thought they were harmless, but I realized I was making choices that were going to definitely hurt me later on, and I got sick of it because I also saw that they were forming me into someone I didn't want to be. I found I was becoming this almost fake person that had these guards up and wouldn't let them down. In a lot of relationships, I found myself having to lie to my parents about where I was or what I was doing. So I was becoming this woman that had no integrity. I was making bad choices that hurt my body, and it was really hard because later on I had to explain a lot of this to Nate, who's going to be my husband, and that was horrible. I said I'm not going to date for a long time, and I'm going to focus on my relationship with God.
So I'll talk about my dating relationship before I met Sarah, which was in high school, which was pretty much non-existent. I chose not to date girls in high school. I kept myself busy and just kind of away from girls. I filled my time with other things, like I played competitive soccer year-round. I was in a band for 4 years. We made CDs and toured and did that whole thing. So I did like girls. It wasn't like I didn't like girls, but if I started to like a girl, I just knew that that would be a temporary thing, that it would last for maybe a week or two or maybe a month. It was just kind of like an infatuation, and eventually it would pass, and it always did. So it passed, and then I knew I didn't really like that girl. One thing that I believed was to not have sex before marriage, so I held to that. I knew I wanted to date someone who was a Christian, and I was kind of waiting for that one girl that would grab me, and I couldn't get her out of my mind for months and months, and to me that was the girl that I wanted to marry.
It was around that time where I noticed Nate. I would see him at school in college, and we started hanging out more and doing stuff, and it became very obvious to a lot of people that we liked each other, because it was always me and Nate starting the food fights, or always me and Nate starting the water fights at a barbecue. And I was just attracted to that adventurous side of him, and so it was just fun, and that for the first time I felt like I was having so much fun in like the right way.
And we got to know each other really well, and it wasn't in a romantic way or a physical way. We weren't kissing, we weren't making out, we weren't doing that. So we really got to know each other as people, and I think that was the best thing that we could have ever done.
It was always fun because we were always trying to think of some new way to like be mischievous or get into trouble, or not real trouble, like good trouble, but just like to go on adventures together. And all of our friends were like, oh, you guys are gonna get married someday, you guys are gonna get married someday. When we decided to start dating, we definitely made some commitments that we wanted to stick to. Like, we knew we didn't want to go too far physically. We didn't want to have sex before we were married. And so we decided that we were going to hang out in groups most of the time, which we did already, so it was easy.
Something that really helped us out was we had a kind of an accountability with each other and with our friends. So we knew we didn't want to have sex before we were married. We knew we wanted to have Christ at the center of our relationship.
But then when we did go on dates, we just wanted to have limits, to not let ourselves be out too late alone, or just because we knew with my past too that could have been a struggle as far as sexual temptation.
And also Sarah and I were on the same level. It wasn't like I was trying to push her or I had different values. We both had Christian values, and we saw it the same way. So I wasn't ever trying to go farther than she was. And so I think that was really key to our relationship and keeping us pure until we get married.
I had to make sure that we made those commitments to just say it, even though it was awkward to say, just say we're not going to have sex before we're married. We're not going to be naked before we're married. We're not going to, let ourselves be alone late at night. But now I've been dating Nate 7 or 8 months. This is like my junior year in college, and I'm realizing that this is a guy that's worth it, and I could maybe see myself marrying him, someday. But why is this so hard?
So she didn't feel like herself. She didn't know if she wanted to be with someone like me because I was putting this crazy pressure on her, and she just felt really judged and convicted around me. And the reason for that was it was me trying to accept her past.
There was a lot of things that came up in the beginning. Like, it was really, like I said before, it was really hard that
She kind of lived like the party lifestyle in high school. She had boyfriends and did that whole thing, and I couldn't relate to that.
at the same time, I also felt judged by Nate because he was still very hurt.
In my mind, I'd always have these negative thoughts about Sarah, and I'd picture her, living this other lifestyle, and instead of me forgiving her and getting over it, I just held on to it.
That was hard because I had finally forgiven myself for having sex before I was married.
And then now all of a sudden she told me this, and I was just like, oh my gosh, maybe you're not that perfect person for me. And I just had those thoughts in my head for a long time, just going back and forth. Is this really the person I want to marry and I want to be with?
Like, he wasn't expecting for the girl that he wanted to marry to have this past. And I hated saying it in the first place because he just felt so unworthy and so dirty, and so
my mind was always playing tricks on me and making me think all these negative things about her, which weren't true.
it wasn't easy at all, and we almost broke up multiple times because of it.
And she began to feel that I wouldn't let go of that and wouldn't forgive her and wouldn't move on. And so she just felt all this weight on her own shoulders, and she couldn't live with it.
We wouldn't talk to each other, or we were just hurtful towards each other. And yet I kept asking God, like, do you want me in this relationship? Like, should I stay in this relationship? Why am I?
And that's pretty much what led to our breakup.
I broke up with him because I freaked out because I didn't know if I wanted to marry him anymore.
The breakup, it was the hardest time in my entire life. It was really painful knowing that this was the girl I wanted to be with, and then not knowing if I would be with her.
I just kind of stopped talking to him, stopped doing everything.
If I don't have her, I relied on God during this hard time. And so I was praying every day. I was on my knees and just trying to seek God's guidance and His will for my life. And I just felt that deep down inside, He put it on my heart that I wouldn't give up on her until she could look me in the eyes and tell me, Nate, I don't love you anymore. But thankfully that never happened, and within 6 months we got back together. And so that was a great miracle, I would say, and a testament to Christ and His grace and mercy in our lives.
Nate was able to obviously heal from that and get past that and see me how Christ sees me. And
so that was a huge pain, and it took me a long time to work through that and to finally get over that. But I did realize it, and I was able to get those thoughts out of my head, and I was able to forgive her, knowing that I'm just as sinful as she was, and that was her past, and she's now a different person. And so I had to see that and believe it in my heart.
But we just kept working on it, and we eventually got through it. And you want to be able to give someone all of you, and in a way you can't, because you've already given part of yourself to someone else. I would definitely say that having sex before I was married is one of my biggest regrets, because of the best person that has ever come into my life, I almost lost because of that. He loved me as Christ loved me, and that's how I wanted to be loved, and I knew that I didn't want to be loved by anyone else. And so when we got back together, it was still really hard because I still had so many walls up. Like, I don't think Nate had seen me cry for the first 4 years of our relationship. I knew that had to change if this was gonna work, if I wanted to marry him, and if I wanted it to last, I had to give it everything. We don't want it to just to be about us, like just do things for us. We wanted to have a purpose almost in our dating, like do things for other people, or be a team that can impact the world together. It's just been awesome that this desire of my heart has just come true completely, and you never think that can happen with another person. I now feel so comfortable in who I am with Nate, and Nate has seen all of he's seen everything. He's seen the ugly, he's seen the good, he's seen every part of me, and I'm just comfortable with him knowing that, and he still loves me despite that, and he's my best friend, and
I'm pumped on that. I can't wait to be married and just live together and make a home together and make friends together. It's gonna be awesome. And make babies. That's in the books. That's in the plans. Definitely make some babies. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, we've definitely been blessed by God, and we can't wait to get married.